I'm Kiana, and this is I Will Do It Tomorrow. First, I have to say, I just got the new iPhone, and I just tried to plug in my microphone because I had this little adapter, and this is my microphone. And I just had a horrible realization. This piece, sorry, it's not going to focus, but this piece is not going to go into my phone. Do they make adapter pieces for the new iPhone? I'm upset because this is going to be my new podcast style videos for my YouTube channel. I am experimenting. If it does well over here, then I will expand further than YouTube and like actually really make it like a podcast. But for now, I'm calling it a podcast, but it's just going to be on YouTube for now. So hello and welcome. And yes, this is my podcast called I'll Do It Tomorrow. And we'll touch more on that here in a minute. I was really looking forward to having the microphone. I don't know how I pronounced every syllable, so please bear with me. I want the audio to be pretty good, so I'm hoping that it's still good. So I'm gonna try to look into that for the future. But hello, I'm Kiana, and let's just get into why I wanted to do this and what we're doing today. This is my handy dandy notebook for the day, so mind your business. I'm just playing. So I really want this to be like a safe space. It's really going to touch most on mental health and self-growth and things like that, and I want it to be chill and vibey. I don't want this light to flash all the time, but also, I'm just a hot mess. Why did I do this now? I really don't want this to flash, but I've lost the remote to it, and there's no way to turn off the flash, so I'm going to vibe with that for now. Everything is not set in stone right now. This is not the final set. This is just what it is for the first episode. So I know what you're thinking. Why wait until tomorrow when you can do it today? Why wait until tomorrow if it can be done today? Well, life is crazy, and sometimes you just need to breathe. You just need to relax. And sometimes you just really have to stop and say, I'll do it tomorrow. Now, don't get too excited and don't rely on this mindset all the time. Saying I'll do it tomorrow is only to be used in really intense, rough situations. If you're going through it really intense mentally, you're having a really bad day, a really bad week, but don't use this tactic constantly, okay? It's for emergency purposes only. You know, like when you were younger and your parents got your first credit card and they're like, this is for emergencies only, and you didn't hear anything they said and you went out immediately and had a shopping spree, and then your interest rate was high, and then now for the rest of your life you're paying your credit card bill. I relate. So yeah, this is only to be used in emergencies. The I will do it tomorrow mindset. So we're going to stay motivated, we're going to stay positive, we're going to stay strong and relentless with our personal growth. Now, I'm not a life coach. I'm not going to come on and pretend like I'm this professional. I'm going to speak based off my experiences, things that I did that helped me and help me still. And if that can help you, or you can all chat about it in the comments, we can all talk about it, that's great. But I want this to be a gentle, soft space, relaxing. You know, you can listen to it while you fall asleep, watch it while you're relaxing, whatever the case may be. This is a safe space and a positive, I want to preface, positive space. So something I want to do every week is something you're saving for tomorrow and something you're doing today. So it's really a play on words. Like, what are you saving for tomorrow? It doesn't necessarily mean it's tomorrow, but like it could be something physical, it could be something spiritual if you're spiritual, and it could be something just mental. Like, what are you saving for tomorrow? What I'm going to share today is what I'm saving for tomorrow is my stresses and my racing thoughts about my financial struggles and current leadership in this country of America. Those things have been consuming me a lot lately, and I just need to take a break from it and think about something else. So I'm saving that for tomorrow. I'm holding that for later, and I'll deal with that tomorrow. And today, I'm focusing on self-growth, self-affirmation, and making sure I'm the best version of myself, not just today, but every day. And that's what I want to work on today, and save all those negative things that I do need to address, but we're going to focus on the positive today. We'll get to the negative tomorrow. We're also going to have a topic every single week that we discuss. So, you know, it could really be anything. And today I've come up with my own, and I'll try to come up with my own future episodes, but depending on how this is received and if people are interested in it, I will take suggestions for topics or things to talk about. Now, I don't want this to be like a tea channel or a drama channel or anything like that. I want this to basically just focus on, you know, personal growth and things like that. So I don't really want to talk about anything super wild, you know, getting all crazy, you know, talking about like true crime or anything. This is for relaxing and mental health, things like that. I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself. So let's get into the topic. My topic I decided to start with is toxic relationships / friendships. Now, you can have toxic family relationships, you can have toxic friends, lovers, you can have toxic relationships with things. We're going to focus on, for this episode, lovers and friends. Toxic lovers and toxic friends. That's what we're focusing on today. So without further ado, let's get into it. I also want to send a shout out to my sister. She made my art for my intro. It's going to get spiced up later on down the road, but for now, she did the art and it's amazing. I love it very much. So shout out to her. Lovers and friends. So sometimes you have a lover that is your friend and your lovers and friends, and it's confusing. That makes it toxic sometimes. But we're going to separate it really. So toxic lovers and friends. I have had my fair share of toxic friends. I think most females have. I mean, that's just like the female plethora of life. There's just a lot of toxicity in the female realm of the world. There's just a lot of competition, and there's a lot of, you know, hatred and jealousy, and I've never understood it. It's mostly in high school, like in grade school, but it also happens in adulthood, and it makes no sense to me. But I think in adulthood, we get to the point where we don't care about it anymore, so we don't entertain it. But as a child, as a teenager, you full-fledged dive into it. At least some have, females have. I think the best way to deal with a toxic friendship, separately from relationship, a toxic friendship, if you are the only one that ever reaches out, that ever makes the plans, if you just get that vibe that you're the only one that cares, the first step is to acknowledge it. You've acknowledged it. Now the next step is to bring it to their attention, but not like in a mean, nasty way. But bring it to their attention. Just talk to them like, hey, like, you know, are you okay? Something going on? Because sometimes the way people cope if they're going through stress is they kind of, you know, they isolate. So it might not be something you're doing. It could just be something they're going through. And they don't even realize they've isolated from friends, from family, anything. So the thing to do is to bring it up to them in a cordial way and just say, hey, like, I've noticed, you know, you haven't seemed very active or present in this friendship recently. Are you okay? Their response, you know, is very important because how they respond will determine how you kind of carry things out. And I think this can be relative. I think everybody might deal with things differently. I've gone through way too many friendships where this has happened to me and I've brought it to their attention and it was a huge blowout argument and I let the argument go and then stayed friends with them, and it was the same thing all the time, back and forth, because the friendship really just didn't mean anything to them, and I had to eventually realize that and let go of them. And sometimes it's really hard to let people go. It's really hard. And even though they're not always benefiting you and there's really nothing there, you still don't like to lose people. And I'm that way, and so it's really important to make sure you're being intentional with how you also respond when somebody comes to you with an issue or something. I think a lot of people don't like to be told about themselves. They don't like to be told, you're doing this, you're doing that. And that's understandable. You never want to hear that you're impacting somebody negatively, or you never want to believe it. But if somebody's taking their time out of their day to talk about it, to address it, then it means something to them. And it means that you mean something to them too, because they wouldn't waste their time to bring it up to you. So if you take these feelings to your friend and they don't seem like they really care, if they deny it, if they're not even willing to talk to you about it, don't sit on it. Don't bring it up later. That's your answer right there. That this friendship probably is over. They're not meant to be in your life. And it doesn't have to be this negative thing where now an argument is started and now this, that, and the next happens. You just kind of, you know, see yourself out of that person's life. Or you have to decide, is the way they're acting okay or not? And if it's okay with you, it's not going to bother you, then you can persist in the friendship. But obviously it bothers you or else you wouldn't have brought it up. So it's like you have to make a decision based on their reaction. And if the reaction is bad, then you have to make like a hard decision, which could be to cut the friendship. And that's sometimes hard. But to nip it in the bud right away is important, because to keep allowing things to happen is what ends up producing a toxic situation that then you become complacent to and you don't care anymore. And you don't want to be in a situation like that. It's miserable, it's insufferable, it's not good for either one of you. And it's just going to always be a cycle of arguing and just negative energy. Like I said, if your friend comes to you in this situation, you can even say like, I need some time to think about this, how I feel about this. Can we talk about it later? That's fine too, because sometimes when somebody brings something to your attention that you're not really sure if you agree with, it's okay to take time to think about it. As long as you're acknowledging their feelings and their emotions, and you're not just brushing them off and making them feel like they're crazy or they're wrong, that's good. And that's my kind of like take on like the whole friendship vibe. Friendships get toxic really fast, and especially with females. I mean, it doesn't take much, you both like the same guy, things like that. I think even in adulthood that still happens. Now, most of my friends, we're all over the realm with sexuality, so we all have different types. We never run into this issue, but there's just so many different things that can cause females specifically to have a toxic friendship. And just the one I wanted to really hone in on today was just communicating with your friend. If the friend is doing something you're not liking, or that's just not really benefiting you guys as a friendship, then you can notice there's an issue in the friendship. And like I just discussed, bringing it to their attention, and however they react is very important with anything that you go to them about, not just you being the only one that gives a crap, but anything. How people react to you when you're communicating is very important to read, but also how you're communicating is very important to pay attention to. And if you interact with these people, you talk about the issues, now the next step is, like, say you had a good conversation. Now the next step is, if you are the one that the friend came to about an issue, your next step is to self-evaluate and figure out how you can be a better friend. And if it's vice versa, their next step is to self-evaluate and become a better friend. We're always supposed to become better versions of ourselves on a daily basis. Not just because somebody came to you and told you about yourself, but also because you should always be self-evaluating. Now, don't overdo it, which I'm guilty of that, where you're like beating yourself up and you think everything you're doing is wrong. But it's important to self-evaluate every now and then. If you had an interaction, you don't have to do it every time, but when you have interactions, just make sure they're intentional. Make sure what you're saying is something you want to be saying and not something you're saying out of a feeling or something. Say what you mean always. Don't ever say anything you're going to regret or out of anger or out of emotions. Like, seriously, always think about what you're going to say before you say it, which is easier said than done. But seriously, it's super important to keep friendships and relationships, any type of relationship. The biggest key really is communication. Just how you react, how they react, and how you want to go about that. So the conversation goes well, you self-reflect, and your friend's still doing the thing that is driving you crazy. And there comes a point where you can only say sorry so many times and it starts to lose its meaning. So if you're at this point now where you've had this conversation with your friend multiple times and it's just not getting any better, it's really time to really reevaluate if this friendship is good for you. A lot of people hear this friendship isn't benefiting me and take it as a selfishness, but our friendship is supposed to be beneficial to both of us. I'm supposed to get something out of it. You're supposed to get something out of it. If I'm the only one getting anything out of it, then that means, I'm not doing my part. If you're the only one getting anything out of it, then I'm the one doing my parts, but we should both be doing our parts. If you feel like you're not getting anything out of a friendship at all and you're giving a lot, you have to reevaluate and you have to decide based on the reaction. Oh, toxic lovers. Now, I say lovers, I don't want to say like boyfriends and girlfriends, because sometimes there is no label. It's just a lover. It's just a situationship, an entanglement, a situation that you got in. A boo that's not your boo, like whatever it is. Sometimes you just get in these situations, and they're probably, I think, like, well, obviously, I mean, duh, situationships and entanglements are way more toxic half the time than relationships themselves. I have been in I've been in several situations, but with one person, but this isn't about me personally, it's just broad spectrum. Several situations I put myself in with a lover to be in a very toxic situation. And it's really similar to the friendships. You have to really be intentional with how you talk to them, how you speak to them, how you communicate with them. When people say communication is key in relationships, it really is. It's not just communicating itself, but how you're communicating, when you're communicating, because there's a time and a place, okay? And how effectively you're doing it. And with the lover, it's the same way as a friend. You want to communicate with them, and they should be communicating with you. And make sure that you're understanding the communication. So if you have an agreement that this is just casual, it's not super serious, then you both have this agreement. You both have communicated that it's okay, and it's okay to do what you're doing. Then you have to go through with that. If you start to catch feelings or other things happen, jealousy, whatever, that's probably going to happen, not always, but sometimes. And if your agreement was to just be casual and that's it, you never said, okay, casual until maybe one day down the road we could be serious, or casual until I really know what I want. But unless you say something like that, if it was just supposed to be casual and nothing else, you start to catch feelings, I think that it is important that you don't suppress that and continue. I think it's important to address it, see how they react, and once again, based on their reaction, you will get your answer. But you have to make sure, if that does happen, that you say something, because if you continue to pretend like it's okay, that it's just casual, and that that they're seeing BBCC and TT, and you pretend like you're okay with that, you're going to hurt yourself in the long run. Because it's not that they don't care, you're going to tell yourself that they don't care. You had an agreement, and you both agreed to it, and now you're catching feelings, and now you have got to bring it up to them. I think that's really hard, because I've definitely been there. It's very hard, but there are so many times I wish I would have just been open about it, because like I said, you pretend like you're okay, but you're really not, and then you keep doing the things you're doing, and eventually you're like a ball of emotions. Or maybe not, maybe some people don't care. But if you reach that point where you start to feel something for that lover, that situationship, and your first agreement was this is just for fun, there was never any talk of being serious, you should tell them how you feel. And if you know for a fact they don't feel for you, like whatever, then you need to have a plan going into it, like, I'm starting to catch feelings, I don't think I can do this anymore. And it's hard to cut it off, but some of the hardest decisions are sometimes the best decisions you need to make. Like, sometimes the hardest thing is the best thing, if that makes sense. You might hurt for a while after you make that hard decision, and it's not going to be easy, hence why it's hard. But in the long run, in the future, we're so busy thinking about right now that we don't consider our future. But you have to think about your future, and wasting time and being in a situation that's not benefiting you and that's hurting you. So if you catch yourself in that situation, then it's important to acknowledge it, bring it to their attention, and if they have the same feelings as you, then you go from there. If they don't, then you have to figure out a way to exit out of the situation and eventually be okay with that. And it hurts, it's hard, but because you've created this attachment. You didn't want to, but you did. And if they don't feel the same way, you can't sit there and try to hope that they will, or try to force them to. You have to just see your way out and heal and move on, which is so hard. But it's important to acknowledge it when it first happens. Just like when you have a pain in your body, it's important to take the pain medicine as soon as you feel the pain, not until it's been 3 hours later and the pain medicine is literally going to be pointless. When you feel the feeling, when you feel the thought, when you feel the need to communicate with a friend or a lover or whatever about something that's bothering you or that's going on, you need to address it sooner than later. Like, it's very crucial. And it's going to be hard to move on, you're going to constantly think that you can get them to love you. And in this situation, this isn't like they told you they didn't love you. It's just you had this agreement and they don't feel for you back. You have to just let that go. And if you're going through that right now, I really hope that you can move on from it, because it is hard. It is very tough. And you might not ever fully get over it, but it's important for your own well-being and for your own mental health, like I said, to remember the future you and not the present you. Move on for the future you, because then you might meet the love of your life if you're not holding on to somebody who's not ready for something serious. And that leads me to the other thing with lovers. A lot of times we fall for the wrong people. The wrong people. You know, I feel like that's just a common thing. You get in these situations where you have like two people after you. One of them is like really good to you and treats you really kind, but you're not feeling it. Like you're not feeling for them. And one of them is like a straight jerk crap bag and you love them more than you love yourself. It's like, why do we get in these situations? Like, how do we get here? You know, the person that's treating you great, that really genuinely has feelings for you and genuinely cares about your feelings, that doesn't play games with you, would do anything for you, that person is never the winner, because a good guy always finishes last. And then the person that treats you like scum, you know, like a barnacle on SpongeBob's toenail, the person that could literally care less whether you were in their life or not, the person that's probably using you, that's the one that you love the most. Those are the hardest and most difficult situations. And I would just tell you what helped me in a situation like that was to build my self-confidence, to know that I deserve better. Sometimes that's hard. You have to build yourself up. You have to remember that just because you love this person and they tell you, because they'll tell you all the things you want to hear, but their actions will be different. Just because you are in love with this person or love this person does not mean you're supposed to be together. Does not mean you're going to run off into the sunset. You know, it's not always meant to be. You can love somebody, but doesn't mean that you're essentially meant to be together. You will eventually get over them. You will eventually meet somebody. You will get there. It will happen. But do not stay attached to the bad person. Do not do it. It is so hard to let go of that attachment. And it doesn't mean you have to go run into the person that was treating you good either. I think it's important that once you leave one situation, to not jump into the next one. Because then you start to build this shell of yourself, become somebody you don't recognize. It's important after relationships to give yourself time to heal. I see so many girls that I went to high school with, or just so many females and guys, and I'm not judging. I never understood they would go from one relationship to the next. And in that relationship they were in, they were so in love and they were so this and so that, you know, on the brink of like marriage. And then a week later they're broken up and 3 days later they're in another relationship and they're so in love. And it's a cycle. And I'm like, how do you guys go from relationship to relationship to relationship? There's probably a reason why they're not working out, because you're not giving yourself any time to really know what you want, to know what you deserve, to heal. I mean, it's just crazy to me. I just don't understand it. I have had one real relationship in my 26 years of life, and I say real lightly because there's just a lot of situations where I just read them early on and I said, I'm out of here, because and some of them could have been the loves of my life. I ended up getting attached to the person that did me wrong, but that's, like I said, that's what we end up falling for. It just, why do we always end up liking the bad guy? I don't know, or the bad girl. I don't know. Why do we do this? It's always the toxic person that we love. And we swear we don't want toxic, but yet we keep chasing the freaking poison around. The biggest advice with lovers is just make sure you know your worth in every situation with a significant other, a situationship. You know your worth. And if you start to feel your worth being degraded in that situation, it's time to move on. It's time to get out of there. Hop, skip, jump away. Like skedaddle. It's just really important. Your self-worth is always more important than worrying about how the next person feels constantly. Now, that doesn't mean don't be empathetic. That doesn't mean don't worry about other people's feelings. But when you find yourself not caring about your own feelings ever because you're always trying to please the next person, it's time to reevaluate. Whether that be a friendship or a relationship, you have to always know your worth. You cannot love anybody unless you love yourself. You cannot give somebody advice on something that you're not doing yourself. You cannot be present in a situation if you're dealing with all these demons. You have to acknowledge them. And like I said, it's hard, it's tough, it's literally a battle mentally, physically. But the hardest things are the things that are always going to prevail in the end. So just take away for today, that some friendships are not meant to be, no matter how long you've been friends. Some relationships, some situationships, when you realize they're just not going the way it maybe was in the beginning, and there's just been no progress no matter what you do or try, it's time to reevaluate your self-worth, what you really want out of that situation, and move on. Moving on is so crucial and so hard, but it's the most important part of keeping yourself sane and not allowing the negativity to get to you too much. So I will be doing each week also like a motivational quote at the end of every episode, but I don't have one for today, so I'm just gonna wing it. But just stay happy, healthy. Always remember to put yourself first and be relentless with your self-growth. Always find ways to be better. Always find ways to relax and be chill. Don't stay in situations that are not good for you and not benefiting you. All right. Stay tuned for the next episode. I do not have a strict schedule yet. Like, I work a full-time job, so I don't have a strict schedule yet, but I will be working on that between now and the next episode. Also, like I said, the set stuff, we're calling it a set, that I still have to tweak. So please stay tuned. Please stay with me and work with me, please. We'll just make this the inspirational quote of the day. Hello, my name is Kiana, I have ADHD. P. Sherman, Wallaby Way, Sydney. So this is the quote. She believed she could, so she did. And that's all I'm going to say for now. See you guys next time. Peace. I'm still so mad my freaking microphone wasn't working. Well, it was working, but I had a duh moment where I realized I can't use that adapter. Crying real tears. Do you see them?